Hey folks, welcome back to Real Southern Outdoors. Today I've got a little tip for you. You ever wish your paddle was a little bit longer? You say, well, I bought the longest paddle they had in the store and it works fine for me most of the time, but sometimes I just wish it was a little longer. Whether it's when you're standing up in your kayak, paddling along, if you want to use it for like a push pole, you wish it was a little longer, or maybe in the summertime, you know, that water's dripping off that paddle a little bit and it gets on you. It don't bother you when it's hot, but when it gets cooler weather, that water's cold, you know, I wish that paddle blade was a little farther out away from me. You need an extension on your kayak paddle. Well, today I'm going to show you how to do it. What I did, I've got a couple pieces of aluminum tubing, and where I've got this at was an old TV antenna mast that I had. Just so happened that one piece of it fits over that end of the paddle there, and the other end just so happens to fit perfect in that end. Now you can find aluminum like this in the hardware stores and all. You can buy your tubing, or if you've got an old antenna mast like that you want no good anymore, you can cut it down and use your tubing like that if it'll fit your paddle. Another place you can probably find it if you don't want to go to the store and buy it, a big pair of aluminum crutches. Sometimes you can find those that will fit the diameter of the shaft of your kayak paddle. So you just got to match up the diameter of your kayak paddle. Now, just so happens that this aluminum tubing measures out, and I can get about 24-inch extension out of this thing if I wanted to. So what I've done, I just took the bigger end, and you see you got that little spring button there. I just laid my kayak paddle down like this, and I took the end of the aluminum and I run it down to where it would meet that rib right there where that paddle is going to stop. And I laid that button against that aluminum tube in there, and I took my Sharpie and I made me a mark right in there, as you can see. So I'm going to drill that hole out, and this only measures 3 inches here. So just for safety on this other end, what I did, I measured 4 inches and run that aluminum tubing in that paddle shaft there up to my mark where I measured 4 inches. Then I took my Sharpie and I went in here in this hole here, because you got these 3 holes where you can adjust your paddle there, and I just made me a mark. Now I'm going to drill that hole out. Another thing I did, since we want to be able to go in at least 4 inches, I measured 4 inches from here to here. When I hold it together like that, from my 4-inch mark here down to this end, that's going to give me about 24-inch extension on this thing. So I'm going to drill this hole out and this hole out. We'll put it on there, then we'll line this end up, and we'll put a spring button in here. Now, something else you're going to need is these little spring buttons. Now, you can probably pick these up on Amazon or something, but I had a little pack of them here that I believe it came with one of those pop-up tents. You know, the ones that the wind always gets in and tears them up and people throw them out on the side of the road. Well, if you see one on the side of the road, you can stop and pull these little spring buttons out of the legs, then you'll be able to fix you an extension for your kayak paddle. If not, pick you up some off Amazon or somewhere. So, let's drill these holes. You only need to go through one side. Once you get your holes drilled in each end here, your big piece that's going to go over this end, it's got the factory spring button in it. We're going to stick that on there like that. Now this end is going to go inside of this part of the paddle here in the shaft, but we need a spring button here. So we're going to have to put our spring button in and double check your holes, make sure everything's working before you try to put this in. But what you want to do is fold this thing over, line it up, get it in just like that, and you want to line it up with that hole. And just start pushing it down till it gets in place. and it'll pop right in place there. Now, our section where this is going to join together, how I come about where I put my spring button there, I measured on the paddle, and it was about 1 3/4 from the end where that spring button goes. So that's what I did here. I measured back 1 3/4, put me a mark with my Sharpie, and then I drilled that hole out where it would fit for my spring button. Now, before I drill through this one for my spring button to go in, I'm going to put my paddle together. And the reason I'm going to do that is I want to make sure that both ends of my paddle, or the blades, are lined up like they're supposed to be. And I'm going to mark this hole. Now that's going to allow me to be able to drill this hole for this section. Now once you've got that hole drilled, you're going to need to put another spring button in. I'm going to slide this paddle together. Now, I've got a 2-foot extension on my paddle. You know everything fits together good. Now something you can do, say, well, I want it adjustable. I think I'm going to put mine about every 2 inches. That should be a plenty. If I find that I want something a little different, I can always go back and drill another hole. So let's drill these holes. I can put this thing together all the way in, lock it in. Then it takes it down to a 16 inch, and I can go, like I say, from 16 to 24 inches there. And then I can just, also just take it out. Very easy. Without any modifications to the paddle. You don't have to take anything apart. And you're right back to your factory paddle length right there. And to put it back together, put your extension in. You can throw this in your kayak or whatever. You can put that thing right back together just like that. And you can use it at any length you want it, whatever you need that day out on the water, or the position that you're in, whatever you feel like you need. But there it is. Another little tip I'm going to show you. This aluminum tube, and a lot of it, it's going to have some play in it. It's not going to fit perfectly tight like your kayak paddle does. So you're going to have a little play in there. And if you want to take that out, the easiest way to do that is like electrical tape, or like some of this Gorilla tape. What you want to do, you just want to put your mark, like, say, on your first end here. Go all the way to the end. And let's try one layer to start with. You'll have to play with it and see how it works for you. Just put one layer of tape on there and you'll see that's probably going to work pretty good. Okay, now you can take your Sharpie, put your mark right there, get back out, and then what you want to do now is take a piece of tape, and you want to put it, center your tape over that mark, just like that. Just like that is there. The reason you want to center that tape up over that mark is when you put this paddle together, that's where the end of that tubing is going to be, of the larger section. So that's where your play is going to be. You can see that's going to tighten it up right much. Now I could go back and maybe put another layer on there. That might be too much, but we're going to keep doing that right on down till I get every joint. Okay, once you get your tape on it, you're going to end up with something like this if you build one just the same way I did. So what you got when you put it together, you'll see it takes up that slack. You'll have a little tape sticking out everywhere. That's going to put that little pressure on that end right there. And the farther you go in, the more pressure it'll put on it, because it's got more contact area down through the shaft there. When you slide it all the way into the last one, you can see it takes a lot of that slack out. Just keep in mind, no matter what size tubing you use, you can add another layer or whatever to it. But the main thing is, keep in mind that if you get too tight, you won't be able to work this thing in and out. If you drop it, you get sand or something in it. The tighter that tolerance is in there, the harder it's going to be to get apart and work with it. So keep that in mind as you're doing it. Let's show you again. We'll get it all together. Just put it all in place, and you've got your adjustable paddle from 16 to 24 inches. There's a paddle extension for you, and you can tape it up, you can paint it, do whatever you want to. It's yours. Do like Burger King, have it your way. So I hope this little tip will help you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Share my video so I can help someone else. And as I always say, till next time, may God bless you, and we'll catch you later.